Please welcome Mark Shamura, who's the CMO of Mod Pizza.
Thank you.
Mark takes all of this very seriously, and he brings to Mod Pizza experience. Some of you may know him, especially from his previous role at Chipotle, where he was both marshaled Chipotle through both the highs and the lows, I would say, of what Chipotle had to go through. But please welcome Mark. Mark. Oh, there you go.
Hi, it's good to be here live and in person.
For those who aren't familiar with Mod and don't have them in their area, just sort of explain generally what the Mod model is, product model is.
Yeah, so like we just mentioned, 13 years old, 2008, over 500 restaurants at this point, 28 states. Most people don't even know actually how wide our footprint is. And British Columbia, let me not forget about Canada. Cheers.
Actually, we have a slide that at least shows the box and gives us an idea of what it looks like. Next slide.
Yeah, so you know, at the from a product perspective, artisan style, individual size pizzas is our core business. Also hand tossed salads as well. Kind of walk the line, high quality ingredients. But the core kind of value proposition, you'll see this in a lot of the work that we talk about later today, is completely customize any toppings for one price. So an incredible value proposition, all based in personalization, getting exactly what you want, but again, anchoring, you know, we call it inclusivity within the pizza itself. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about the national campaign that you launched in a second, but before we get to that, talk about up until this point, traditionally, what had been the media plan for Mod Pizza? Where were you acquiring customers most? What channels were you leaning most on?
Yeah, so up until the most recent moment, and a lot of this was set to launch 2 years ago, but obviously we had to pivot, like a lot of other folks. You know,
it's a drinking game, by the way.
Yeah. Traditionally, more regional based, streaming radio, out of home, direct mail, not very video driven, mostly geo-targeted digital media, and a lot of local marketing, field marketing, grassroots initiatives. That was the traditional.
So why go national now? Because this is, I mean, part of what we're talking about here is your first really large nationwide campaign. What's part of the strategy and why go national now?
Well, I think there's a few reasons why now. And by national, we really mean this is the first time we're marketing at all 500 of our restaurants rather than focusing on specific markets for the first time. It's really about telling our story in a bigger and better way and getting and really acquiring new customers. You know, we're a large growth company, fastest growing restaurant chain between 2015 and 2018. I think our opportunity now is, as we get out there, to tell our story. We're doing that through connected TV. We're doing that through video. We're doing that through more online video for the first time, and really introducing and prospecting for more customers for the first time. Obviously, we're going to connect with those who know us, but making sure that we get that value proposition and, importantly, our point of difference, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit.
And right on cue, I want to bring up the creative because I want to talk about the choices that you made in what you're coming to market with and the ways you want people to be introduced to the brand and how that's, I think, different from the way a lot of QSRs would come at this. So let's look at the first video.
At Mod, we know different is delicious. That's why our pizzas are made differently. We make them openly and honestly. You top them infinitely, but we don't change the price accordingly. They're baked super fastly, and they come out crisply, bubbly, and saucily. We provide opportunity, proudly hire inclusively, and our squad shows up each day completely authentically. Because in here, we welcome everyone wholeheartedly. Mod, all pizzas welcome.
Okay, before we get to the next video, I just want to ask about some of the basic decisions that you made here. You're not leading with limited time offers. You're not necessarily leading with all the specific qualities of the product. Why these decisions here for this brand?
So a number of decisions. So when I was talking before about clearly from a product perspective, we have a unique value proposition. It's any toppings, one price, but really at our core and our purpose as a company is really a people-focused brand. Our purpose is to make a positive social impact in the communities that we serve. That takes place in really two ways: in the way that we provide opportunity, we hire. That's very much highlighted in there, and I can talk about that in a little bit. But it's also about how we create community. And so, to your specific question, there is no LTO in there. There is no price-driven call to action at the end. Two reasons. I think there's a lot of craveability in there. We have a core value proposition, which is important, that can live, I think, even beyond price. But really, as we're talking and introducing the brand, particularly to people for the first time, we want to drive some craveability and get that value prop in, but we want to talk about what makes us different. And that's really our focus on our people and the opportunities that we hire, that the opportunities we afford to those who have been a little bit traditionally disenfranchised in the world of opportunity and employment.
I definitely want to get to that piece. I want to stick with the media piece for a second. What is the media plan behind this? You said you're using a lot of video, but tell us, since again, you had moved from a lot of very localized channels, radio, out of home, that sort of thing, and now you're moving into video. What channels are you using here and finding most effective?
Yeah, it's important to, I think, understand the video side of it, but also the full funnel, because to your point about there not being price or LTO in there, there's still a down funnel conversion based portion of the media plan. But I guess at the top you'd say connected TV, mostly running on Hulu, video on YouTube, all of the traditional social channels, mostly driving that conversion: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snap.
Is that why CTV is important? Why are you choosing CTV over linear? For a lot of the media buyers I talk to now are telling me CTV is they're getting outpriced in those channels.
Yeah, we thought about going with linear, but we really wanted to with connected TV get more reach. And the way that we look at it is we utilize that top of the funnel connected TV to really build our case. That's what we're building the case with this advertising, and then sequentially we target them down the funnel to, we call it build our base.
And you're
So
also,
it's the
most of
connectivity between
CTV
both of them.
providers like Hulu, you're able to then retarget. I mean, so one of the advantages of CTV is you've got that back end data that you can then retarget from and start pushing.
Yeah, and that's important because it's that sequential targeting down the funnel that's important to us as
And
well.
that's why I want to move to, what are the key, as you're doing this, you've got top to bottom funnel. What are the KPIs that you're applying to this?
Sales, obviously, we'll be looking at that. What's most important to me is new customers. How many new customers can we acquire during this process? So we'll be looking at tracking that kind of pre and post. And then obviously in more of the digital channels, that's a little bit more of the straight conversion to buy. And then the last and importantly, and definitely not least, is we'll look at our brand equity before and after. So we want to look, we're still a growth brand. We're in 28 markets with 500 stores. So in some places our footprint is smaller. We want to drive as much awareness as we can. We see a direct correlation between levels of awareness and AUVs.
So the top and the bottom of the funnel are connected in your mind. These branding efforts really are showing themselves at the bottom.
Absolutely.
Okay. What course corrections have you made so far? How are you optimizing? What are the key measurement parameters that you're using to adjust along the way? What are the red flags? What are the things that you want to lead into?
I don't know how much media modifications or optimizations we've changed. I'll tell you that what I've been most pleased at or surprised about was completion rates within YouTube. So optimizing toward that. On the creative side, we also sell salads. So we have salad creative out there as well. And not surprisingly, pizza kills it. And salads do not as much. So it's obviously important to tell our salad story, but just from an efficiency perspective and craveability, and with pizzas being a majority of our product sales anyway, that's been, we've pivoted optimization toward the pizza.
Okay. So this is something more that we tend to see in pre-roll and on Hulu. The next video, which is longer, bear with us, but it tells a really interesting story. Is this the kind of thing that you're surprised is seeing full completion rates? And and just before we run this, just tell us where you're running.
Let me give a little bit more perspective on this, because this was not a huge paid advertising effort.
Right.
When I talk about the opportunity employment that we provide, let me frame it up quickly. We do that in three distinct areas. The first is focused on justice involved or formerly incarcerated. The second population and audience that we reach out to are those with IDD, with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And the last is an area called opportunity youth, 18 to 24-year-olds who are no longer in school and not working, and been a little bit disenfranchised in the employment space. But specific to members with IDD, we partnered with Best Buddies, who is, and we continue to do work with them to hire, again, those who the population with IDD, and this, another core anchor outside of the paid advertising that we showcased before is us telling longer and stories about our employment and what makes us different. So this was a 2-minute piece that we pulled together, mostly distributed through our own channels. And I think we'll talk in a little bit about what was the hook that we utilized to promote our Best Buddies campaign, which was through the specialty dessert cake that I think we're going to talk about in a little bit. That was the thing that drove to people experiencing this video. But
but I think you're defining diversity a lot differently from what many industries are defining it as. And I think it's worth looking at this to get a better understanding of the kind of commitment and the populations that Mod Pizza's committing to. But let's run the full thing.
Our world.
Give me a world where everyone is welcome.
Where every sign on every door
says open.
Open!
Referring to the hearts inside.
Give me a world where our stories matter.
Where we know that stories different from our own is our best kind.
The best kind.
Give me a world where everybody clocks into compassion.
And everybody forgets to clock out.
Give me a world
where no one apologizes for who they are.
Where who they are is exactly what it's all about.
Exactly what it's about.
Give me a world
where meals
are more delicious.
Where many kinds of people are offered up a chair.
Give me a world where the cup that is half empty
becomes full the moment it's shared.
Give me a world where there are no strangers.
No stranger.
Our open arms tattooed.
With the names of the people we have yet to meet.
Yeah!
Give me a world where I know I can go farther
in the sidecar of your motorcycle.
Motorcycle.
And I can go alone.
Down in the street.
Give me a world that understands.
The heart is like a choir.
The more voices inside of it,
the more beautiful the song.
Give me a world where smiles stretch out like welcome mats.
Each one saying,
you belong, you belong.
Now I get to harsh the buzz by asking the cynical journalist question.
Oh, no. Right after that,
you've said because we're heartless beasts. You've said that your brand message converts people from liking the brand to loving the brand. How do you know that? And how do you measure that?
It's a great question. I wish I had a love meter.
Well, what's the love metric?
Well, look, we know anecdotally that when we talk to people and they say, I didn't even know you did that it inherently changes people's perception of who we are. But if I went back to the All Pizzas Welcome work, of which that's the overall proposition here, obviously All Pizzas Welcome means not only the customizable pizza, but the fact that we provide belonging and opportunity to a lot of folks. When we had third parties give us feedback on likability of it, across the board, we saw really good metrics, but I think importantly, we saw an even more astounding effect on Gen Z. And again, without having more specific research, my gut says that there's an entire different generation growing up whose expectations on brands, that they're more purpose-driven, that they provide and contribute to a world that's more than just selling you something. The fact that that was resonating with them, I can't define it as love yet, but I, in my mind, can draw the line, which says it's at least inspiring people to think differently about it.
There are needles, you can measure some needles that are moving that are more than just sales.
Yes.
What have you learned about, I mean, everyone now is talking about values-driven, people-driven marketing. You've been doing it now for 13 years. what have you learned about doing this in an authentic fashion that maybe other companies are missing and don't appreciate?
Gosh, we've learned so much that it's not easy. Look, I think I think like you just said, trying to create a purpose or lead with values is definitely, I would say one of the hot trends of the moment, but the fact that we have been doing it for so long and have the credibility to be doing it, I think is I'd start there, is very important. We didn't, commission some gazillion-dollar study that said, oh, here's the opportunity that's going to convert your customers. So I think having the credibility to say something gets to the authenticity. And I think the authenticity and the authentic way that you bring it to life really leads to trust. And that's what's the most important thing here. But the other lessons that I think we've learned is it's a journey. It's not easy to focus on things that are disruptive and different. Again, we organically leaned into these populations because we were organically hiring them. And there's no roadmap that says, here's how you hire justice-involved individuals. Here's how you hire those with IDD. And so most of the lessons are around listening and being willing to try and fail along the way. And the last thing I'd say is one of the biggest lessons is it takes amazing partners like Best Buddies to make us better. We've not done this on our own, and we've partnered with a number of world-class people to help lean in and challenge us and make us better.
I think that's important, is that for each of these groups that you're aiming at, you're actually working with institutions that are on the ground, have been working with these groups for many, many years, and you're letting them drive some of this.
And influence us and teach us along the way.
Now, the other piece you're doing for the messaging is sort of, in a way, productizing it. You're using product marketing in a way and creating product, naming product, and crafting them in ways that embody the larger message. And I think that's interesting to look at. Let's look at a couple, just sort of describe the couple of these products that we're going to be looking at. We have 2 slides of some of the products that we want to talk about. You can bring them up.
Yeah, so I can give some background on these, but we always talk about pizza as just our platform to make a difference in the world. And as part of that, we've done impact pizzas in the past before that raise money or awareness for certain initiatives, from mental health to other things. But what we've migrated to recently over the past 18 months is let me just start, our no-name cake, it's called. It's this, our signature dessert. And we have developed LTO versions of them, but really they're platforms to talk about specifically initiatives that we're doing. So again, when we go back to the Best Buddies example, most of the paid media was driven around the cake itself. So you learned more and you had something. And in this instance, they're priced more than the regular cakes. So people are voting with their dollar here. We're teaching them hopefully about what makes us different, and then we're asking them to lean in and help us, in this case, raise money for Best Buddies. And then most recently, the one on the right-hand side there, we have an internal fund called the Mod Bridge Fund. It's for our internal employees who are in moments of crisis and can reach out to us and ask for help. And as you can imagine, over the past 2 years, those requests have more than quadrupled. And one of the most important things was, how do we continue to fund this bridge fund so we can help support our mod squad? And those that cherry cake over there, and one we launched over the summer, a strawberry one, and these ones to come are called squad cakes, specific to our squad, and they raise money for the bridge fund. So again, utilizing the products as a way to tell the story, and ultimately as a way to to drive some donations and dollars to important things.
The story and the cause comes first, the product comes second. I mean, in the sense that it's the cause that drives the product development. It's not, another breast cancer awareness, red heart Krispy Kreme.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. You told me that you regard your fundraising platform as your secret weapon. Tell us about what the fundraising platform is and how you use it, and what the marketing advantages are.
Sure, and I know a number of other restaurant companies utilize fundraisers as well, but I believe it's one of our best secret weapons because, again, we are about inspiring, driving, and creating community. And there's frankly nothing more powerful than connecting with local communities than the power of fundraisers. That, you know, it's a platform where obviously consumers can reach out to us. You come in, a portion of net sales go to your event. But our focus on high schools during the crisis of the pandemic, the first frontline workers was a way to connect with and give back to the communities. But one of the most powerful things, not just from a brand or customer perspective, but it's empowering all of our GMs. They know the locals in their restaurant, they know their regulars, can reach out and work with them to establish a fundraiser that supports the community. So, you know, again, our purpose is about driving social impact in the communities we serve. And I think this is one of the best tactical tools we have to do it. And one of the larger key learnings, so many new customers come in this way. There's nothing more powerful than having a loyal guest who then invites their friends to come in to have a delicious meal that's doing good. It's an incredible Trojan horse while doing good, also capturing tons of new guests as well.
Engaging the general managers, engaging the staff too. Another theme that I think we're going to see over the next few days is a lot more efforts that are engaging staff to be essentially ambassadors of the brand.
Yeah, and making sure that they're local ambassadors of the brand, and they know their communities best, and they can identify what works best in their markets.
When did this launch? When not the fundraising platform, I mean the big national campaign.
In September.
In September.
Yep.
What course corrections have you made so far at all? If at all?
Well, the salads.
The salads.
Yes. So just we made some. The creator that we just talked about, but that was probably the core modification. But you know, again, optimizing toward the views and completions in YouTube.
As you look out onto other companies that are also moving in similar directions, what do you think you're doing that maybe they're not doing? Because we see a lot of it. I'm the cynic up here. I'm hearing everybody tell me that they're people first, they're values driven. When you look at the landscape of so many companies rushing into aligning themselves with certain values, which I think may be the wrong construction to begin with. As soon as the brand says that, I think they're on the wrong track, probably. But what do you see right and wrong about the ways in which this is going on now?
Great question. I don't want to say what I think that they're doing wrong. Maybe it's advice on how I think it can be done right.
Okay.
Is your purpose is about your culture. And look, a lot of folks are talking about people right now because we're all in this world of staffing crisis. And so when you think about how we get more people back into this industry, there's the wage lever, there's the benefit lever that everybody's starting to pull, but you know, there was a McKinsey study that recently came out that showcased, obviously wage and benefits are very important, but what employees want is a sense of belonging, a sense of community, a sense of trust in their culture and their company. And we've seen that we can inspire that deeply within our company through the engagement studies that we've done. And so it's a long way of answering. When I look across everybody wanting to get into a space and communicate a people-focused message, it's really about, it needs to occur within your culture. It can't just be a slogan that's out there. And I think we've authentically done that.
Well, and a shortcut might be, are your employees proud to be working for this company? Which I think a lot of is true of very few companies. And if that's the standard, then I think you're sort of on the right track if you're creating a company that your employees are proud to be a part of.
Yeah, it's super important.
We have time for questions. Just raise your hand and please stand and tell us who you are and who you're with so everybody can meet you. Don't be shy. You've lulled them to sleep, Steve. I know.
it was an incredibly effective way to both retain the right kind of employees and get people on their way. So I just wanted to share that because it was at another conference. And it was
No, it's a great point. Going back to what I said before, like unique audiences required different ways of recruiting and different ways of onboarding and developing. And to your point, specifically within the justice involved audience, there's lack of access to banking and frankly housing and many other things. So the extent that we can help wean in, educate and partner with them, I think differentiates our approach for sure.
But it also speaks to the cultural piece, I think, and that you need to be deeply ingrained in your employee base in order to do this well and really understand their lives and be able to service them on a lot of different levels that maybe you never thought of before.
Yeah, and it's a constant journey because we're evolving and looking at that all the time. What more can we be doing to marginalized audiences to make our offering better?
Mark Shambura, thank you so much today.
Thank you, Steve.
I'll be around to answer your questions later.